Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you. It's been a while. If I haven't seen you on video or distributed anything through our social media, that was intentional. The literature build up to hashtag decolonize cannabis, Flourish Ventures Limited digital marketing platform, offering education to viewers and listeners through our podcast and YouTube series moving forward. Joining me from Chase, British Columbia, Stephen Teed of Green Future Industries, hemp farmer and growing sensation. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Tell us a little bit about himself and his fine products.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for having me today. Beautiful day here in British Columbia. Springtime, as you can see, I'm at the farm. My name is Stephen Teed. I'm the owner of Green Future Industries. We specialize in industrial hemp and also in cannabis production. We're federally licensed hemp growers here, and we've done seed production, research and R&D in fiber and herd, and as well as CBD production. We've also done some research and development in cannabis production and growing methods out here in BC. And I've also been a big advocate and teacher of industrial hemp. I've presented across Canada to First Nations and government and all interested parties on industrial hemp and kind of where the industry is and where it can go and all the potential and the help that's needed and yeah, it's been a great experience and look forward to the future. Everything's getting greener, brighter. So with good people and us coming together and teaching and learning, we can definitely take this industry to the next level. So I'm excited for the future. And thanks again, Jordan.
Welcome, Stephen. We've had some great discussions leading up to this recording, back and forth a little bit on our dialogue and anticipation of what we might expect moving forward. You mentioned something in the introduction, especially Vancouver, and I just want to recap a little bit too on our introduction to each other. Fortunately, it began in person, and that was in Vancouver, attending the 2019 WIBF. And as you had mentioned, lo and behold, all the way from Manitoba, I was able to catch one of those educational presentations. You know what? It was absolutely captivating. We had come back from Vancouver and initiated in less than 30 days our paperwork with the company's office to switch our company name, do a name change. Flourish Consulting originally 2017. We went forward with the name change to Flourish Ventures. That was particularly as an indication we picked up from your presentation and other presentations that afternoon, where we had ultimately filed our initial paperwork as a consultant service with the anticipation of not only assisting in Indigenous economic and agro development in terms of our consult service initially, backdropping obviously a Indigenous promotional backdrop. Sorry, what am I trying to say? Contributing to the rights, to the good fight as we from the youth movement, Métis youth movement here in Manitoba into the national Indigenous rights movement. That's a contribution that's going to continue with us in business and in education. Hence the hashtag decolonize cannabis. We kind of bring it all together that way. And then moving forward, here we are after COVID, one whole year, over a year since our personal introduction, the story I've just laid out, and things are slowly and surely coming together. What we meant to initially as our introduction to kick off Flourish Ventures Limited as a commercial grower, which was the insight and the hindsight we had applied on Indigenous economic and agro development, that we would, when at the turn of legalization, flip into the industry. So initially thinking, okay, let's go big, let's be growers. And now after 6 months, well, actually, we've been in the system for 14 months, tied up, I'm assuming, a little bit on top of it with the COVID. We don't want to turn back to our business planning. We hit a fork in the road. So what we did was we split our business plans into two. So here in Manitoba, where other growers have been tied up in that process of becoming a commercial grower, spending an exhausting 2, maybe 3 years, waiting for the licensing, and not pushing forward on that plan other than waiting limbo, which you can't blame anybody. The education was lacking. Plus, we have a provincial umbrella that supports stigma still, where people haven't come quite out into the adult use market and medicinal market openly, recreationally beyond. The retail stores exist, but the education platform is lacking. Here, we're going to bring that, right? So splitting our plans, phase 2 exists. We are becoming a cannabis brand and product inclusive to the facility plans that we started off from 2019. Phase 1, however, is our ability to participate in Manitoba's cannabis industry now without being a grower or a seller of cannabis products. Do we assume that we have all of the answers? Definitely not. So we bring this platform to show and demonstrate, one, we are serious about being in the industry. We've taken time now over the course of a year and a half, not waiting, navigated the system, charted the best route to be able to participate provincially and then soon to be federally. And now also to demonstrate that we have extended our professionalism beyond Manitoba, beyond Canada even, with follow-up discussions, Zoom meetings, webinars, and connecting with the right people to demonstrate that we do want to participate, that we offer legitimate educational and consult service here in Manitoba. And bringing people like yourself to the show, we're going to be able to demonstrate just how that ability is going to show when we are able to provide an actual product here in Manitoba, produced out of here. So we're going to smash all of the stigmas. That's the goal. Educational, informative. You know, we're not going to be, and this is important, Stephen, because if we can participate together at some point, absolutely. We are moving to cannabis product review, right? We're not looking to harm anybody or harm any product, but as consumers and myself, medically and recreational, when and if on the right episodes it's appropriate, we definitely will put some cannabis products to the test. What people are talking about at the stores, right? What's hot, what's not, what local growers, what inter-licensing systems exist for import-export when it comes down to exchanging and processing and sampling products. So with no further ado, Stephen, let's hear a little bit about Green Future Industries and your intake on its impact in both the cannabis and hemp industries, locally to you and beyond.
Yeah, thanks Jordan again. Yeah, it's been quite the roller coaster, hasn't it? This legalization in the last 3-4 years. And yeah, that was a big conference where we met, and I was fortunate enough you came and talked to me after the presentation. And yeah, and hemp and the hemp industry has a lot of attention in Canada, specifically within First Nations, of course, and then internationally as well. It's becoming bigger and bigger every day. More and more research going into it with climate change and the need for sustainable, renewable materials. So a lot of excitement happening in the hemp industry. A little background for Green Future Industries: we've been licensed hemp growers for a little over 5 years now. And I started with 30 acres as a test plot way back then. And we grew to 450 acres of organic hemp production for seed.
Beautiful.
And then we developed and we've been researching the fiber end of the industry is really a passion of ours. And as well as the building material. So we've been focusing and partnering and working with engineers, manufacturers on equipment, and things have been slowly progressing. COVID unfortunately slowed some things down, but gave us some time to go back to the drawing board and make some improvements. So it's been exciting. And there's so many factors in life. Like right now, the price of lumber is just absolutely insane. So we've got going up, and I'm in BC where we're in the heart of the forestry industry right here. We have some of the biggest mills, in the world. And even for me, the price is going up, 5-10 times. It's crazy. So we've been getting renewed interest on building products, because previously it was hemp, to build with hemp was comparable to wood, now with the price of wood, it's cheaper to build with hemp than
I
it is
was,
to wood. So,
I'm
you
making a
know,
note. Yes.
yeah. So it's exciting to look at, just going with the times, right? You never know what's gonna come, but being prepared, and then passion and interest in the cannabis industry has pushed me in that direction as well. Pulled me consulting with agri businesses and just agriculture in general, providing consultation as master grower or two
Yes.
master growers. And so it's been good to help out doing outdoor in British Columbia. Uh, the genetics, and out here in BC, it's definitely a lot different. A lot of LPs out here. Also, people waiting in the system for years and years and years for license production, but also a lot that have them now, and working with them, and it's been exciting to see what's going to kind of come. I want to see more of the industry taken back by the people. I'm helping a lot more people with their 4 plant operations.
Nice.
Something you talked about with the product review side, and even just talking about being a cannabis user is still, feels kind of taboo to people, right? It's like,
Right. Exactly.
uh, I can imagine in your province a little bit more so, but even here in BC, it's still, it has people give you the look sometimes. Um, so it's breaking that stigma. I do a lot of have a lot of community discussions, and some people like elders, they'll never talk outside of just privately with me, and they would never admit that they've used cannabis for medical ailments or even for just mental wellness, right? So there's a lot
Right.
of different applications and uses, for the medication, and just bringing it back, that it's not an evil drug. It's something that should be nourished and taken care of. We're very adamant about the organic production. I'm a big advocate for organic production, especially in cannabis, because if you're smoking it and it's a medicine, the last thing you want to do is start to alter things unnaturally. And
That's right.
so that's all we do and focus on here at Green Future Industries is the organic side. I notice a difference when I smoke. I search out organic production wherever I go. It's some parts of the world they look at me like I'm crazy, but then out here in BC we have organic growers, and there is an organic market,
Yeah.
um, and especially for the medical side as well. And then trying to break that stigma and having that open discussion of what is cannabis use really, and that there's a a good side to it, and not a TV side. They always make things so extreme on TV, and it's not. The
Right.
reality is not like that, and just making it, normalizing it almost again. So
We're
excited for that.
decolonizing it.
Decolonizing it, yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's a plant. You grow it. It's medicine. It can give you clothing. You can build out of it. So I think it should be looked at that a lot more again, and in that view. And decolonizing, you're absolutely right, because it was only made illegal because of colonization,
That's
and it was
right.
the biggest. And I tell people we need to go back, and it ran the international trade, for a long time, for the rope and the sails and canvas. Hemp canvas was huge, way back in the day. So there's
Major.
hemp for victory was the slogan for in America for the war, right? The grow hemp for victory.
That's the sickest thing, Stephen. Like, you're absolutely right. And you brought up the textiles. That's a big thing. That was a hard one. Like, for me, is in the ag experience here for the 4 years I was in the ag industry and potato business here, and fortunately able to be in a management position to see the operation, to learn the equipment and that. And right from day one, all the time. And some of my friends, they'd vouch for it, family, I'd be joking, and colleagues, a lot of times you know, what is it you're looking at? You know, and I'm sitting there because you touched on this, and it's important because you said it exists. Everything you're doing, this market exists. It's national, and Manitoba will catch up. So the switch and the flip when it happens, it's important. And there's a number of things that you brought there. But at those times, I would actually be considering what type of screens and what type of conveyors do we need on this machine to collect all of the THC or pollen from a field of hemp or cannabis, right? Because that's where I was looking at it. And I remember when we talked, it said like, this market is going to open up, and where are people going to be in terms of that? And at the time, and you will have done your research too, and you would know, I mean, we're talking zombie equipment that exists already. I mean, for decades, because the legacy market, it exists. We acknowledge that in our discussions. There's a knowledge base that's going to come from that's automatic. So when it comes to harvest and quick harvest and that type of methodology, it would only make sense from the adult use market that equipment's going to be coming into play, right? So I mean, you have the patents and the trademarks and all of the race is obviously going to be on for the automation and equipment similarly at some point. But the hands-on, the importance of the connectivity, everything like that, definitely going to be a main play in ours. And just some of the things you brought up to consult, it's important that our viewers heard that specifically in your ability in BC as a licensed commercial grower, with the expansion, the explosive expansion that you've been able to demonstrate, moving into consult and helping people as recreational users and consumers, and growers, abiding by the federal legislation. That market there, it exists. You have people who want to practice their ability, but they have zero experience, or they want the best experience. So your ability to go out and consult and say, hey, I can help you with this, and it's next to nothing or whatever it is, right? Like, that is going to thrive. So here in Manitoba, while we offer the same, and we are a bit, and we want to talk about correlation and restrictions. So in Manitoba, the federal umbrella is not supported. Citizens aren't able to grow 1 to 4 plants like they can just over in Ontario right now, or Saskatchewan, skip over to Alberta and BC like yourself, they're doing that. So we're going to catch up because cannabis legalization is not going anywhere. Manitoba and Saskatchewan are going to get on board. We've seen the opportunity and how it looks. So it's a tough sell though. And our market right now for Flourish Ventures Limited cannabis cultivation consult is solely lying again with medical growers and consumers. Now, I've been extended an opportunity to demonstrate the ability in my medical grow as a professional ability as to why somebody might consult with me on, okay, if I can grow medical plants in Manitoba, why Jordan Fleury of Flourish Ventures Limited, of all people, would I consult with? And the important thing about that is, here out of Manitoba, out of my own medical grow at the quality assurance application into the methodology, including, like you mentioned, organic, inclusive to organic material nutrients, have been able to produce a medical standard for my allowances at my need, to the level that I was able to capture the attention of Purity IQ and the Cannabis Council of Canada. So my own personal medical cannabis is actually going to be adopted. It's in the process of being adopted into those entities' cannabis and hemp research projects. And it's allowed me, and I haven't advertised this much because I'm waiting, that's not something I need to really, I advertise that obviously the connectivity now that we're affiliated with them, but at the same time, I'm not going to promote, but anyway, what they've extended through being adopted into their program, and it actually allows me the title of a scaled down micro craft master grower. So when that all comes to fruition here, and I put that in my advertising, the ability to help medical growers become successful growers. And I'm not saying top notch quad A, like your usual retail. We're talking, you have an ailment, you've been prescribed, you meet the requirements medically and all the documentation, you're able to grow. We're here to help you hone down the most appropriate strains, where you're going to get the seeds, right? And then the ability to produce your product in a manner and in a system that ultimately, one, fills your provincial quantities or medical allowances, and also provide you the education on how you are able to do that and still explore the adult use market recreational. But without this type of episode, without this type of information starting to make the waves, we are stigmatized. It's hard to get out there. We automatically get lumped in. I'm sure you dealt with it initially. Well, BC is quite open, but initially we were about to get steamrolled into an advocacy position when we are a legitimate cannabis industry entity. So beyond that, the information, the connection, brother, staying in touch, moving forward. We do have a cannabis brand coming out, right? So, I mean, as our plans unfold, processing is a big thing for us. If your expansion is looking at growth, right, we're looking at the opposite. We don't want to compete with anybody that way. We have a vision that's going to come to fruition. So working together down the road, I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. In some way, we'll find a way to make it happen. So otherwise, the textiles, you nailed that. I imagine like that getting into that for you would be a big thing if lumber doesn't come down.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's getting some renewed interest from potential investors, because right now the biggest thing, as you mentioned, was the equipment, because processing equipment, specifically the decortication of the fiber and the herd and the separation, that's the biggest hiccup right now in that industry, and making that to the large scale that it needs to be.
Right.
So, but we've found Canadian manufacturers that have produced a quality machine that we're promoting and we're partnering with to because we feel their machine is the best one on the market currently, and they have 30 plus years in the hemp industry, so they're not new to it, and they've done some great breakthroughs. They just, unfortunately, they need some capital because it's a new industry, so it's everybody's still hesitant, but it's exciting. But unfortunately too, there's always, you hearing more about what's happening in Manitoba and what you have to deal with. You might have to get into advocacy, because somebody's going to have to voice the concerns of the people. Everybody deserves 4 plants. There you go.
That's right.
Everybody deserves 4, right? That's at least, but
that's federal. That's human rights.
Yeah, they shouldn't be stopping that, because there is some hiccups with it. Like, it's 4 per address. Out here it's not 4 per person or anything like that, and there's a lot of restrictions on it, and but it's a start. It's new. Nothing moves fast in government, so and maybe in 5 years things will be better, but it takes conversation and people to raise awareness that things are ever going to change in the better. So yeah, so for hemp, that's moving along, and anybody looking to know more, they can check out Green Future Industries. We've been kind of slow on our media presence in the last little bit, but that's just because I've had a couple kids, so so I've been with the family, but we've done a lot of progress too as well. We're working with a couple of universities out here to helping them with some research projects and lending our agricultural expertise on the plant. I do advocacy work. I lobby the provincial, the federal government on industrial hemp. I have to do my part, because somebody's got to, because most of the time, as soon as they figure out, even cannabis, as soon as you start talking to them on a personal level and educate them a little bit in a positive manner, it can go a long way. At least I think so. Maybe I'm just naive, I don't know. But in Manitoba, you definitely you have some good MPs out there. You have that there's a gentleman, Wab Canoe, right? That's an MP out there, NDP leader.
Yeah. Provincial leader.
He should be able out there, get him to get everybody their 4 plants. out in Manitoba.
Let's get him on hashtag decolonize cannabis.
There you go.
Open it up. That's what we want. We have some local politician interest, but definitely get it out there, man.
Go no hurt talking to the top, right?
Right.
So yeah, and then it was great with the consulting. Everybody needs help. I'm thinking, I have some plans going forward, but I have nothing set in stone either. Everything kind of comes with opportunity and wherever life kind of takes you and the creator. So whatever we end up doing is just we're going to continue to work hard, and I want to see specifically the industrial hemp industry come to fruition and be in every major product on every shelf in every superstore and every store, in the world, because industrial hemp is huge in other countries, way more so than in Canada. We're actually lagging behind. It's way bigger in Europe and Asia, specifically Asia and India. There's huge histories of using industrial hemp, and it's exciting when people start to research and figure it out and see where it can go. And I want to help bring it there, and hopefully your listeners or people, going to get motivated to help bring it there as well, because it's going to take a lot of people. Takes a lot of people to bring anything, the way it should. And my other part of this decolonize, podcast is make sure big corporations don't take control of it, because that's the worst thing that can happen to it.
That's right.
Or anything, even the cannabis industry. And I'm huge, against, the big corporate cannabis guys and what they do and how they've treated the industry and even just the everyday people. I don't find that how this industry should have been rolled out. It was embarrassing. And I had words for, like Minister Bill Blair. I've had specific words to him and on how he rolled it in and treated it, and special preference to ex-police and government, way more so than the people that carried the industry for the 60s, 70s, 80s and brought it to where it is, fighting for medical, fighting for even just, the right to have a joint. And they just, they get forgotten about nowadays, which is unfortunate. But, I don't want to see that. So I have some ideas on how we can change the industry that I like to unveil in the future, if it's possible. But I think people like you and you helping, the everyday people, that's what's going to change it. Getting micros, getting small medicals, getting people, to do their own production, own grows, own farms, a lot more individual, opposed to these, the Auroras where they do 1 million acre greenhouse. That's just ridiculous. That was never going to work, and now it's for sale. So
farm gate, let's get it. Farm gate, like
exactly. Well, now because of COVID, it's farm to mail, right? Let's do that. That's
yeah.
Everything moves by the mail nowadays, it seems like.
Well, Stephen, you know what, man? You sure dialed it in. Excuse me for calling you man so much too. I know you're a sir. You're definitely, you're up there. You're getting there. You're doing it, man. That's why we brought you on. I appreciate your time, all of the time leading up to our planning, sharing your vision and your information. You're welcome back with us anytime. We want to stage, on the side, let's build up. Let's do a review together on a brand that's coast to coast. Like you said, let's put some of the corporate testing in play. Let's let people know what they're really dropping their dollar on, and that'll come from one professional between another, sharing that type of stuff up. So on top of that, I want people to know this episode is airing on YouTube and podcast, Spotify, Anchor. You're tuning in at this time to catch it. It's 4:20 p.m. Manitoba time. That's what time this sucker's going up. So enjoy the next hour of listening between our two guests, bringing you specialized Indigenous industry and Indigenous information. So Other than that, I want to leave something with you just to think. I learned it about hemp, one of the mind-blowing situations, but I use it as a bit of an icebreaker in mine. Stephen, I don't know if you might even know, but were you aware about Henry Ford's ideas with hemp?
Yeah, I've read a little bit about Mr. Ford.
That I found absolutely thrilling, and I think as far as Manitoba ag producers go, it's a go-to icebreaker for more people to become aware. Yeah, fascinating what he had almost accomplished, and I totally support in what you were saying, because you and I both know then that DuPont and large-scale corporations put an end to that idea. So all at the same time of prohibition, right? So I don't know. Let's leave our people with something to think about. Search that up, you guys. Look into that. See where we're going with this type of discussion. Stephen, if you have anything else to say on top of, I will be floating your logos, company information, anything that way, feel free to connect with Stephen. Feel free to connect with me. I'll leave Stephen with his final words to you guys, and we are out. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan, for having me again. It's been a pleasure spreading the good word and, connecting coast to coast, and look forward to having many more discussions and maybe some reviews. I have some really great micro LPs out here that, I think would be good to test out, bring that way. They do some innovative growing techniques because I'm all about innovation and just having fun and putting some love into the product and what you do. So if you don't love what you do, you probably shouldn't be doing it. And so with that, I'm going to say, have a great day. Enjoy your 420 and much love. So, Cook Shem.
Peace. Talk to you again.
See ya.